Alrighty, let's see if I can pull up today's Moodle page. I don't have it. On the Moodle page, come on. I'll just close it out for now. I've already got it downloaded. You can download two little things, items. I'm giving you an iPad that's already in a Photoshop document, and I'm giving you the hand to work with. So both of these you can easily use. Let me show you the Photoshop iPad document when you do open this one up. It's a little bit more than you need, and this is what I mean by that. It is an iPad. It's got everything on there, all the little details, and a blank screen. If you go to the layers, you can see everything is located within this one folder, so all the different layers. So here's layer for the screen. Here's the layer for the panel and all the buttons, and everything is kind of broken down into that. You really don't need to have all of these assets because you're not going to be animating anything for this. It's more than you really want. Really all we need to see is just kind of the main panel. So what I would do is to flatten all of these layers into one solid layer so that you don't have to worry with too much of that. To flatten it, you can go to the top right-hand corner and choose Flatten the Image. And usually a little, for whatever reason it's not showing, it'll give you a preview of what it looks like. So it's just one solid image that you're working with. All cool? Here's the next tip that I'm going to show you. So for each of the animations that you're doing, so we're going to make an animation that shows it clicking on the icon, or an animation that shows it scrolling through the news items. Make a separate document for each animation. Do not try to do it all in one Photoshop document. Break it up. Give it to each of your team members. Let one person do one thing, another person do another thing. Okay? And then once you're done, then you put them all together once you've saved them as a movie. So let's see what we got here. I won't save that. Here's your hand, and I'm going to show you the first simple one of opening up the application. So here's what I've pre-created for us. I've got my iPad. For this background, I just did a Google search for iPad backgrounds, and it's given me a bunch of just blank ones. I went ahead and made an icon for my MC application. If you look at our panels, so you can see here's my little MC icon, here's my background layer, and it looks pretty much the same. It looks like it fits within there, right? Okay. The next thing that I have, this is my welcome screen. You know, when you click on an application, the first screen that pops up, it's usually who made it or welcome to the application. So let's walk this through. What I want to do is I want to take my hand. So I've got this one. We'll drag it into here. It is pretty big, so let's scale it down. Now I use my selection tools to get rid of that white background. There we go. Do make sure that your hand is on top of every layer so that when you do move around. So what do I need to do for this animation? You tell me. I'm going to start here. No timeline. You just tell me. What am I doing?
You're moving it to MC.
Okay. It's going to click on it. What happens when it clicks on it?
Welcomes.
This needs to pop up. Okay? So how long should that take? How many seconds? 3 seconds? Okay. All right. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Okay, about 2 or 3 seconds is actually pretty good. Remember, in your timeline, by default, it's going to keep everything at 5 seconds. So the first thing you really need to do is to adjust it. Let me see if I can move my timeline over so I can see it. Oh, come on. There we go. Timeline is probably the most difficult palette to work in, simply because it takes up so much real estate. So I'm going to, bear with me for a second, I'm going to drag this from 5 seconds all the way down to about 3 seconds for each of the things that we created. When I do animations for each of my my items, what do I need to do? Oh, I'm sorry, bear with me for a second. There we go. What do I need to do with each of the layers to do a good animation? I need to convert it to something. Smart object, bingo. So control click on it and convert to smart object. Do the same for this one. We're really not animating the icon or the background, so I'm not going to worry about that one. Those are going to stay pretty much the same to work with for that. So now let's do the animation. I've got my playhead at the start, and we'll do the actual finger first. So my starting point is where I'll place it. We'll place it off to the side here. Which one do I click on to start an animation? Transform. So there's my starting point. And let's say it'll take about a second. So there's 1 second. We want it to move from here to here, right? So here's my...
You move the playhead before you move the finger, right?
Yeah, move your playhead, then move the finger. If I want it to pause there, I'm going to move my playhead just a little bit more. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll go back to this. Let's move it back to the end. So once it's clicked on there, maybe it's going to move off. So this is what it will look like. Boom, and then it moves away. Boom, and it moves away. Moves away very slowly, obviously. If you do want it to go a little faster, well, just change your point at which it's moving. So maybe 2 seconds. Let's back it up. So there, and then back. And then it pauses. There, back, pause. Right now, I do want it to kind of pause right there on my timeline. So I'm going to make another one. Let's move my finger back to here, and we'll move it back to that position. So it'll give it a little brief pause. Click, pause, and then moves. Click, pause.
Okay, what did you do to make pause?
All I did was move my playhead over just a little more. That's where it starts. I want it to pause right there, and you can see it's actually moving a little bit. And then I just created another point right there. And let's see, let's move it up right there. Okay? But how do I know it's clicking? Okay, the icon could change. I'm going to give you another way, just to keep it a little bit more simple for you. When it clicks on this one, I'm going to have a little circle appear, just a little dot or something that'll show me that it's been touched to the screen. To do this, I'm going to use my ellipse tool, and we'll set the fill to none. We'll give it a red stroke. So underneath here, once it touches, the little red circle comes up, and you can see in my timeline where it's going to be at. I do want it to be underneath my finger. And here it is on the timeline. Let's change how long it's going to be up there. So right there's the point that it touches. And here's the point that it moves away. So I only want that to be right there. Let's see what it looks like now. We'll back it up and play. Goes up, touch, and then it's down. Pretty cool? Doop. Simple, simple way. Rather than having to animate a whole thing, just add something that will change up for you from that. Now what's the next thing I need to do? I need the welcome screen to come up. So once I've got that animated, let's pull up the welcome screen. I want the welcome screen to start as soon as I touch this icon. So right there is where I want it to be. We'll close out my finger transition. I can scroll up. And so, where is it? Oh, there we are. Christian University. Have I lost my... Have I lost my welcome screen? Something happened. Y'all bear with me for a second. For whatever reason, I've lost my... Okay, got it back. So right here, at this point is when I want the welcome screen to start, right at the end of clicking on it. So right there. And we'll bring this back down so the time is okay. To bring it up, to pop it up, we're going to start the transformation. And we're going to start it off as being very, very small. At the end of my animation, we'll say right about there, we want it to be very, very large. So you can see the two translations. It starts off small and gets large towards this one. Let's see what we got. Press play, clicks on it, and then it pops up. Pretty cool, huh? If I wanted to, I could even add an opacity change to it. Let's stop that. Oh, stop. There we go. We'll click on, come on, opacity. We'll let it start off at 0. And then at the end of it, it should be at 100% opacity. Now we'll back up and see what it looks like. Press play, click, and it pops up from there. If it looks like it's going a little bit too slow, remember all you do is click on the starting and stopping points. We'll bring it down to a little bit quicker. Press play. Now it's opening up a lot faster. Any questions on doing this type of transition, this type of animation? Okay, so this is the easy one. When you're finished with this, remember, save this as one file in itself, just the opening, and you're going to export this as one movie. Okay? So don't try to do the whole thing at once. The next thing is, let's see what it would look like if we had to scroll through our, I'll close this one out. If we had to scroll through all of our stuff. Let's see. Y'all bear with me for a second. Let me make sure this also looks correct. Put everything back to its...
So you save it and export it and keep working on it in the same document?
No, save a totally separate document. So for instance, this one I've called Opening iPad.
Okay, yeah.
For this one, I'm calling it Scrolling iPad. Okay. Or you can call it Clicking on News or
so how many files are there going to be?
It depends on how you want to show how your animation works. I'm leaving that up to you. Let's see. Let's make sure. Yeah, I got everything else looking good on this. I'll scroll this down. So what I want to do for this one, let me place this in proper place, is to have my campus news be able to pop up from here. So I can click on it and drag it up. Let me zoom out so we can see it. Drags up to the top. Then I want to be able to scroll through each of these news items from left to right, however many that we happen to have. Then maybe I wanted to select one of the news items and be able to scroll through it as well. Okay? Kind of going back to what we were talking about. Notice how I've got different categories. How many categories, subcategories? 6. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course, I need 2 more. Within each category, I've got different news items. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. This is what I'm looking for from you. 6 categories, 5 news items. Okay, back to what I was saying about this. Here's how to animate this. I've got it all set up to how I'm working with it. We're going to keep it very, very simple. Notice how I've set up my layers. Here's the trick to it. What am I using in almost every layer? What are these things? Y'all know this. Layer masks. Layer masks are the key to making sure that this looks and works perfectly. I'm going to get rid of these layer masks and we'll recreate the whole thing. Here's what it looks like without it. Delete layer mask. Everything that I have on here is in its own separate layers. So you can even see in here. Here's one news item, another news item. All of these are in their own layers by themselves. Even my background is in its own separate layer. So we'll turn this off. Let's deal with this one thing at a time. So for campus news, what I want it to do is to click from here and drag up. And you can see I've made it blue so that it will block out whatever's in the background. However, if I do this, what area do I really want to cover up? This area, just this area right here. So here's what we're going to do for this. I'm going to set my campus news at its starting position. Actually, I'll bring it down a little bit lower. I want to select the area that I want it to affect. I'm going to use my selection tool, Marquee, and we'll click in the upper corner and drag down to right here. Got it selected. Back to my campus news layer. What happens when I click on my layer mask?
Okay, so stop for a minute. Before you did the marquee, what
All I did was just move this out of the way. I selected the area that I wanted. Once I've got it selected, what happens when I click the layer mask? Yep, it layer masks just that area onto here. Y'all following so far? Real simple stuff. Here's the next thing. If I go to move anything that's on this layer, let me turn off auto select. Watch my layer as I move it. What all is moving? Just this, and also my layer mask as well. What I want to do is to keep my layer mask in the same place. I only want to move the object on the layer. To keep it there, we're going to unlink with that one. Now, when I select this, watch what happens. I can move this, and my layer mask stays the same. This is how we're going to animate just this, and everything else will stay in place. Of course, we'll need to do the same thing for your each of these particular items as well. So let's turn these on. Okay. Here's another little tip. If you want to quickly reselect this area, hold down the Command key. Check out my icon when I hold down the Command key. It's got a little marquee. When I click on it, just one click, it will reselect that particular area. So Command click, then I can select this one, turn on the layer mask, and it's already masked out. Command click, select, layer mask, masked out. So let's do that for each of the little news icons that we've created. Command click, layer mask. And yep, and then you go back and you unlink each of these layers as well. Have I lost y'all? All simple, very, very good stuff. The best part about this is I can select multiple layers, hold down Shift, so I got all of these selected, and I can place these back in place, and they all move except for their layer masks as well. So I want these to go right down here at their starting position. Now let's animate it. I'm not gonna worry about the hand for now. I'm just gonna keep the come on. Haha. Come on, timeline. There we go. I'm just going to keep the other ones there the same. Looks like I got it up to 50 seconds. Let me scroll this down. We'll do it in 10 seconds. First thing you should do is to set the amount of time that you need to work with. Same for campus news and for this one. Much better. Now let's zoom in and see what we can work with. Okay, so with this selected, since I'm only changing up the position of it, I'm not going to have to really change those to smart objects, but I will open up each one of these. Let's put my playhead back to its starting position and turn on position for each layer. So position for that one, position for the international students news, position for this one.
It gives you those options. Does it always give you a position option, even the others?
If you don't change it to a
If you don't,
if you don't change it to a smart object. That's why it's showing something different. Okay, and so there's the campus news icon to work with. I'll even open up a couple of these so you can see what we're working with. Okay, so here's our starting point. so I can see everything. The next thing is I need to select all of the layers. So from here, shift and click. And let's say we want it to open up over the course of 3 seconds. So I moved it to 3 seconds. And then we're going to drag it to the stopping point. Click and drag. Okay? Let's see what that animation looks like. Play it. Comes up. Pretty cool, right? Over 3 seconds. Next thing, let's say I wanted to swipe left and right to be able to view each one of these items. Okay? So I've got my playhead. We'll start it at 4 seconds. Alt and here we go. I'll then select the appropriate layers. So in this case, I only need the news items, not selecting my background. Then we'll start it, let's see. Yeah, let's have a starting point. Move it over, maybe over the course of a second. It scrolls through to this one, since I don't have a lot to put on there. So there we go. Let's play that. Scrolls up, 2, 3, 4. And then it scrolls to the right. Then maybe for the last one, I'm only going to choose just the athletics and let that scroll as well. So from here, after a second, we'll choose, which one's, not that one. There we go. Choose this layer. We'll give it a starting position. And over a couple of frames, let it scroll up. Then over the next position, let it scroll back down. From there, let's see what that looks like. Click and play. Scrolls and selects one. That one goes really quick. Does this make sense? The main thing to do is set up your layer masks and unlink them. This way everything stays within the working area that you want to work with. Once I've got these animated, then I can go back in and animate the hand to match up each little point. So let's open this one up. We'll go back. We'll turn on my hand layer. There we go. So this will be its starting point. Clicking on position. And then as it moves, it needs to move up to here. So this will be the next position. Haha, haven't made my hand big enough, so it's going to cut itself off a little bit. Then the next one, it needs to be able to move to the right. So maybe from right here, it needs to move down. And right here, it needs to start scrolling to this position. So let's see what that will look like. Moves up. And you can see some of my animation got off by a little bit. But you get the point. You're selecting multiple layers and you're moving them all at the same time to see how it works. You're doing side swipes, you're doing a vertical swipe, you're doing some sort of pop-up to be able to show your transitions and animations. Any questions so far on how to do that? I know I had to go very, very quick